Hey yo, what's going on everyone? FreakyDude99 here, and today I bring you a beautiful Void Warlock build that you can use in any endgame content, including Grandmaster Nightfalls. This build is designed for endgame content and will ensure that you can take down the hardest content in the game while also having tons of fun doing it. Of course, with any build I make, there's a picture at the end for easy reference, as well as a dim link in the description. And without further ado, let's jump into the subclass. Starting with our super, we will be taking Cataclysm for the massive instant damage it deals. I find it works the best in harder content as its damage is instant and the projectile homes in on enemies. Whenever we have a group of champions or enemies, we can stun them and let it fly to melt their health bars. For our class ability, we are using Healing Rift for the sustain and survivability. The continuous healing is really helpful for holding down an area for your team, and with this build we want to use our Rift as much as possible and we'll be able to as well. Whenever it recharges, we are also using Bomber and Outreach, so we're getting some grenade and melee ability energy back. For the melee ability, we have Pocket Singularity, which is pretty much a utility skill for us. It pushes back enemies, meaning it can be used to save yourself from an enemy's melee attack. We're also running Focusing Strike, so if we hit Pocket Singularity, then we regen 20% Rift energy, so make sure to use it whenever it's up. For our grenade ability, we're running Vortex Grenade for the high damage and ability regen. Planting it on an enemy will melt them, and it's just a really strong grenade to use. We're also running Chaos Accelerant and the exotic Controverse Hold, so our grenade gets more abilities and effects that I'll cover when we get to them. Starting with our first aspect, we have Child of the Old Gods. Casting our Rift will create a Void Soul that lasts for 25 seconds. Damaging an enemy will cause the soul to chase the enemy and create a 10-meter field that damages enemies every 0.75 seconds for 13 seconds, as well as weakening them for 5 seconds whenever it damages them. It also grants us 3.5% grenade and melee energy every 1.4 seconds because we're on Healing Rift, and finally it grants Rift energy when drained enemies die based on the enemy rank. We will be getting our Rift back quickly with this build, so we want to basically spam these out across the battlefield. Whenever you stun a champion, it's always good to just drop your Rift and shoot them immediately. That way you get the weaken applied, as well as you get that grenade and melee energy back. For our second aspect, we have Chaos Accelerant, which allows us to hold and overcharge our grenade to enhance it. Since we are using Vortex Grenade, it gets a 70% increased radius. It will also burn for an additional second and pull enemies in 0.2 seconds faster. We spam Vortex Grenades out, so these buffs of course help a lot in taking out enemies and champions. Moving on to the fragments, we have Echo of Persistence, which makes void buffs last about 40% longer. This will make Devour start at 8 seconds as opposed to 5 and makes the maximum limit 15 seconds instead of 10. Next, we have Echo of Starvation, so on Orb of Power and Void Breach pickup, we get Devour. Devour fully restores health on activation and refresh. Final Blows with Devour active refresh it and grant grenade energy based on the tier of enemy, as well as extends the duration by 5 seconds. Devour is a focal point as it allows us to survive so much damage and helps us get our grenade back faster. We also grab Echo of Remnants, so our Vortex Grenade lasts 50% longer, and finally Echo of Instability, so our grenade final blows grant us volatile rounds to our void weapons for 10 seconds, which is a big damage bump to any of our void weapons that we run. And that does it for the subclass. We focus heavy into our Vortex Grenades and Child of the Old Gods, as it gives us more ability regen and the ability to weaken enemies, so comboing them together adds on a lot of damage. Moving on to the weapons, we've got some great choices here. For the kinetic slot, we use Wish Ender for anti-barrier rounds and the strong damage it has. Wish Ender is always an S tier weapon in endgame content, as you can use it from pretty much any range and still deal lots of damage, as well as it's really effective at taking down champions and majors. When we're not using it, we use an auto rifle for the anti-barrier rounds, so something like Perpetualis or Rufus's Fury are of course good picks. For the energy slot, we're using Hollow Denial for the overload rounds, or we use Ecliptic Distaff for unstoppable rounds. Hollow Denial can be crafted with lead from gold and killing tally, making it a strong weapon in endgame content because you'll have lots of ammo to actually use it, as well as Ecliptic Distaff can provide good survivability with the glaive shield and champion killing with close to melee. If you're using an auto rifle in the kinetic slot, you can use Le Monarch for the poison damage, which pairs really well with this build. For the heavy slot, you have void machine guns like Retrofit Escapade, which can roll 4th times and target lock, making it perfect for champion melting, and you also have Commemoration, which can roll reconstruction and killing tally. Both very strong weapons that help in clearing out waves of strong adds, as well as taking down champions, especially when they have volatile rounds activated. If you want to use an exotic, then Deterministic Chaos is a fantastic weapon with the ability to weaken enemies very quickly, perfect for helping your team nuke any champions or bosses. Void weapons are the way to go, as volatile rounds is a solid damage increase, as well as there being artifact perks that buff them up too. Speaking of which, let's move on to the artifact perks. Starting out, we grab Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle, Overload Trace Rifles, and Unstoppable Glaives. These also give our weapon archetypes a 25% damage increase in overcharge activities. Next, we grab Authorized Mods Void, Strand, and Melee for the cheaper mods. We grab Deeper Origins, which buffs origin traits of weapons from Season of the Deep, Neomuna, Root of Nightmares, and Season of Defiance. We also grab Overcharged Armory for a 25% damage increase on those weapons when in an activity with the Overcharge modifier. Next, we have Unto the Breach, so final blows on a Void debuff target spawn a Void Breach. Void Breaches grant 12.5% class ability energy on pickup, as well as Protective Breach makes them so they give us an overshield. And finally, we have Supernova, so picking up a Breach will also make our next Void weapon damage cause a weakening pulse. And as well, we have Conductive Cosmic Needle, so strand debuff targets take 5% increased Void ability damage. The artifact perks allow us to spawn void breaches with our volatile rounds without using a fragment slot, which is really helpful for this build. Next up, we have Armour Mods. Starting off with the helmet, we have Kinetic Siphon and Void Siphon, so Wish Ender and our void weapons can spawn Orbs of Power. If we use a Strand Auto, then we swap Kinetic Siphon to Strand Siphon. We also have Ashes to Asset, so all those Vortex Grenade kills give our Nova Bomb back faster. For our stat focusing, of course, we focus Resilience for that 30% damage resist. Next, we have Discipline, so we get our Vortex Grenade back faster. And finally, we have Recovery, so our Rift and Health regen faster. Moving down to the arms, we have our exotic Controverse Hold and the exotic perk Chaos Exchanger. While charging a grenade, we get a 20% damage resist. While charging a grenade, we get 20% damage resist. On grenade hit, we get 2000% additional base grenade regeneration for 1.75 seconds. This has a 4-second cooldown between activations. When Vortex Grenade is charged, it can proc twice if enemies get hit by the initial explosion and the last few ticks. This allows us to get our grenade back so quickly, as most endgame enemies will survive it, allowing us to proc it twice and just throw out even more grenades. For the mods, we have Focusing Strike and Bolstering Detonation, so grenade and melee hits grant 20% class ability energy. We also have Firepower, so grenade kills spawn Orbs of Power. Moving down to the chest piece, we of course grab 2 Elemental Resist for the 25% damage resists, and then a single resistance mod for a 15% damage resist. Down to the legs, we have Void Weapon Surge, granting us a 10% damage increase while we have an armor charge. We also have Recuperation, so Orb of Power pickup grant us a burst of health. And finally, Void Weapon Holster, so our machine guns, trace rifles, and glaives all get auto reloading while stowed. It helps a lot in harder content, as reloading can sometimes be the death of you. And finally, for the bond, we have Bomber and Outreach, so on Rift Cast we generate 20% grenade energy and melee ability energy. We also have Font of Restoration for a plus 30 into recovery while we have an armor charge. And with that, the build is complete. To use it is simple. Starting off with our main ability loop, it's going to be Grenade, Rift, Melee. Our grenade regens at a fast rate, so we always throw it first and we charge it up before we throw it, and followed it up with a Rift Cast to spawn our Void Soul. Using your trace rifle or machine gun to quickly tap fire an enemy will cause the Void Soul to be sent out quickly before getting close and using your melee. The melee ability doesn't go too far, so we'll have to get kinda close, but with Devour procced, this isn't a worry. Keeping that loop up allows your abilities to feed into each other, and once you're in the cycle, then you don't have to worry about focusing strike and outreach overlapping. This build allows you to get a bit crazy as Devour gives us really strong sustain, as all we need to do is get final blows to fully refill our health. For champions, we can throw out a Vortex grenade and use a Rift right after to send the Void Soul out and get the weaken off at the same time the Vortex grenade is going. Getting this timing on champions can shred their health bars fast, especially when you switch to your machine guns and lay into them. Barrier champions are easy to take down as volatile rounds on our void machine guns lets us keep firing and stun them without having to switch off. This build is just really fun and strong, and it's good in any level of content, and you can adapt it to a lot of different activities. I've been using it to farm the Grandmaster Fallen Saber as well as going into the Psyops Moon Battlegrounds. If you need, there is a picture of the build on screen as well as a dim link in the description for easy copying. If you enjoyed the video and build, be sure to give this video a like as it really helps please the algorithm gods. And of course, if you want to see more, then hit that subscribe button. This channel is taking off more and more, and it's just awesome to see. I love making these videos, and I plan on making more videos besides build videos, so be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I have been FreakyDude99, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out everyone.